King Osiris's fatherhood. At noon, Robert high, like only he could. The fables are bizarre but good. It's Smith Understood.
That was it?
That's what I got this morning, okay?
Oh, wow. Okay. Hey, thanks for joining us for another episode of Myth Understood with me, Paul Bianchi, and her, Sarah Oliver. Sarah, I did something very dumb recently.
If you're going to confess to murder, we should probably turn this mic off.
Wait, who did that recently?
Excuse me?
Who did that murder recently? We used to do the Second City thing, and there's a teacher there
That confessed to murder.
I saw her post about this just the other day, that someone texted her that she didn't know was an unknown number, and it said, "So, have you done it?" And she did
Allison.
she did a whole spiel about like, "Yes, I buried the body, Jonathan," and like gave him like a whole like thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, that takes more time than I usually have, but good on you, Allison.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Bury the body.
But anyway, no, the stupid thing that I did is I was making manicotti.
Oh yeah, I know the stupid thing.
Yeah, and it was very hot because we're having a heat wave in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just come home from work.
So I said, I want some hot pasta.
I said, I want to make some manicotti, but when I'm cooking, I don't want to wear any pants.
I get it.
Yeah.
Winnie the Pooh style.
So it wasn't full on Winnie the Pooh. I was still wearing boxers. And I was making the manicotti, and I was pouring out the hot boiling water, and it splashed out of the colander and landed on my hip, like the part of my hip that has never seen the sun, like very close to my groin.
Mm-hmm.
And I sustained a 2nd-degree burn, and it's terrible. So so if you're ever like, maybe I'm going to haphazardly pour out boiling water, think of me and my 2nd-degree burn, and don't do it.
And yet you're wearing pants.
These are stretchy pants.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't wear regular jeans right now.
I would be Winnie the Pooh all day, all night.
Yeah.
If I had.
You'd still be just like walking around in your boxers.
Well, honestly, a dress is the way to go always.
Yeah.
People think it looks fancy, but it's the laziest thing a person can do.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think that one looks fancy. It looks like it has a little hole in it.
It does have a hole in it.
Okay.
This is my I don't give a shit dress, and that's what I'm wearing in front of you.
Okay, fair.
But we have an exciting Dragon Wagon family announcement.
What's that?
Well, Daddy Jake
did what?
Just got engaged.
No.
Yes.
No, because...
And not to you. You're already engaged.
That's true.
You can't stop getting engaged.
No, but I saw a picture posted about it on the Dragon Wagon Instagram, and someone said, "Is that Paul and Sarah? Am I crazy?"
You're crazy. No, Paul's already engaged. Now Jake and Alexander are engaged, and I am over here rotting alone
in your fancy dress.
in my dress covered in holes.
Wait, we already did that myth about the burqa.
Yeah. Wait, what kind of skin was that?
It made you look like a slug.
Yeah, that's single, ready to sluggle.
You're delightful though.
Cool.
So we have another myth today. Surprise. And this piece is yet another. I think I brought up the how like there's this Scottish man, Andrew Lang, who collected a bunch of folklores in 1903. And
hell yeah.
And I think last time all I said was like, this was collected in 1903 by some British person. But then this time when I found this other
he has
one,
a name.
I was like, oh, I should probably talk about Andrew Lang and why he collects things.
This is before, Comic-Con.
Yeah, it was kind of that. I actually couldn't find a definitive real answer of why he got to collect things other than him being like rich.
He's a fanboy.
Yeah. So as we read through this one, I want you who are listening to this, and Sarah who is listening to this right here, I want you to say, hey, this feels more Scottish than Egyptian when we reach that point.
Oh, a diddly dandy.
A diddly dandy, yeah. So this particular story is referred to as either the faux prince, or the sham prince, or the ambitious tailor is like the title of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could just also be called like the sociopath, but
Yeah.
I'll let you be the judge.
And I think I will call out a diddly dandy when I think something's very Scottish, even
Okay.
though, as you know, this is not a real Scottish phrase.
No.
This is a phrase I made up
Yes.
and gaslit my friend Kate into believing it's Scottish. And it's how Scottish people say hello when we went to Scotland.
Yeah, and it's how my fiance and his family decided to get in on the joke. And
Yeah.
so when she met them, they all said, "Oh, a diddly dandy to you." And,
To the point where she really was, is this real?
yeah. And when we pinched her. Anyway, so the sham prince. Once upon a time, there lived a respectable young tailor called Labakan, and he worked for a clever master in Alexandria. And I left this phrasing in the same. I left a lot of the phrasing in the same because it's great. No one could call Labakan either stupid or lazy, for he could work extremely well and quickly when he chose.
Oh.
But there was something not altogether right about him.
Oh no, this is insulting.
Sometimes he would stitch away as fast as he had a red-hot needle and burning thread. Other times he would sit lost in thought, with such a queer look about him that his fellow workmen would say, "Labakan has got on his aristocratic face today.
Oh,
Look
excuse
at him."
Okay, so he sounds like he just has ADHD.
Probably,
All
yeah.
right. Same girl.
But also maybe a sociopath. We'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
On Fridays, he would put on his fine robe, which he had bought with the money he managed to save up, and he'd go to the mosque. And after he came back, he would meet with a friend and say, his friend would say, "Good day," or "How are you, friend Labakan?" And he would wave graciously and nod in like a condescending way.
Condescending.
Yeah, he would always be like, "Yes, look at me in my fancy
okay.
robe." And his master would say to him, "Really, Labakan, you look like a prince." And he would respond like, "Oh, you've noticed it too? Oh, I do look like a prince. Thank you." So things went by like this for some time, and his master put up with Labakan being so princely all the time because he's like, he really is a great tailor.
Okay.
So one day, the Sultan's brother happened to be passing through Alexandria, and he wanted he wanted his state robes altered. So he sent for the master tailor, who handed the robe over to Labakan, who was his best workman. So he's like, "Oh, I'm the best tailor, but Labakan's doing all the work for me." And in the evening, when everyone had left the workshop and gone home, Labakan had finished doing his work on the state robe, and he hung it up, and he was just looking at it, gazing at it, admiring the rich material and the splendid embroidery on it. And he could hold out no longer. He's like, "I must try this on." And lo and behold, it fit as if it was made for him.
Well, he made it.
Yeah. And he looked at himself in as he was wearing it, and he's like, "Am I not as good a prince as any other?" And he asked himself, and he proudly pranced around the room.
Prance.
Yeah. Has not the master often said that I seem to be born a prince? And it seemed to him, in this moment, he decides, I must be the son of some unknown monarch.
Oh, okay. What a leap.
Yeah. And he decided to set out at once and travel in search for his proper rank. Like he must, like, someone will see him in this robe and just...
He's going on his ancestry.com journey.
Yeah, but before the internet and before...
But he's still collecting everyone's saliva.
I mean, it seems like it. Yeah. He felt as if the splendid robe had been sent to him by some kind fairy. And he took
Yeah, he's having hallucinations.
and he took care not to neglect such a precious gift. He collected all of his savings and concealed by the darkness of night, he passed through the gates of Alexandria.
Ooh, fairy, Scottish.
Yeah, that's
We
what
don't hear about fairies up
exactly.
until here. All right.
Yeah, there's
It's the fae.
It's the Fae. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
so there's zero mention of fairies
Right.
in any of the Egyptian
Yeah.
mythology until
Diddly
we
dandy.
read this, Mr. Andrew Lang. Diddly dandy. The new prince was wherever he went, people would be curious about him because they were like, what's a person dressed in such fine clothes doing walking on foot? Like that's would be unseemly. So
Bizarre. All right.
so he ended up buying a horse with like the last of his money, and he bought
Is that Scottish? Well, we don't hear much about horses.
um
We've heard about cows, camels.
yeah, I think there might be there's horses around.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, he well, they also, so this is, remember how I'm like, oh, we got to find a name for this horse that's going to be in this journey. But this actually gives it a name too.
Oh shit.
And the horse's name is Merva.
No way.
Yeah. Murva. Merva.
Isn't that Hera's name in
Oh no, that's
Minerva?
Athena's name in Roman is Minerva.
Minerva. There you go.
Yeah, but this is a shortened version.
Merva.
Marva.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he buys this old horse that has trouble walking because that's all he can afford, and he gets on the horse's back and starts ambling along with her. And one day, as he was riding, a horseman overtook him and asked if he could join him on his like, hey, wherever you're going, I want to go too.
What?
Because it seems like you're traveling and I'm traveling too. They had nothing else to do.
All
Sarah.
right.
The newcomer was a bright, cheerful, good-looking young man, and who was soon plunged into conversation and asked many questions. He told Labakan that his name was Omar, and he was the nephew of Elfie Bey.
Elfie Bay.
Elfie Bey.
The Elfie Bay.
The Elfie Bey.
I have posters of Elfie in my room.
That's Elfibey.
All right.
Two separate words too.
Yeah, Elfie Bay, duh.
Elfie Bey. And it also, he goes by eBay too.
He goes by who?
eBay.
eBay?
E.Bay.
All right.
He was,
so this guy runs around reselling items
yeah, probably.
online. All right.
And Omar was traveling in order to carry out a command given to him by his uncle on his deathbed. And Labakan was not quite as open in his confidences, but he hinted too, well, I'm also of noble birth, and I'm traveling just for pleasure. So the two men, and I like this phrasing, took a fancy to each other and rode on together.
Oh, do they start kissing?
Probably. I mean, he is collecting every saliva that he can.
That's right. I'm going to need this.
On the second day of their journey, Labakan questioned Omar as the orders he had to carry out. And to his surprise, he heard this tale. Elfie Bey, Pasha of Cairo, had brought up Omar from his earliest childhood. The boy had never known his parents. On his deathbed, Elfie Bey called Omar over to him and told him, "You're not really my nephew, but you're the son of a great king, who, after being warned of coming dangers by his astrologers, sent the young prince away and
Too
made
relevant.
a vow to not see him until his 22nd birthday."
Man, that shit shouldn't hold up today, but it does.
You're a Taurus, you see. So Elfie Bey did not tell Omar his father's name, but expressly desired him to be at a great pillar in 4 days' journey
That's ridiculous.
to the east of Alexandria on the 4th day of the coming month, on which he would be 22 years old.
Oh, fuck this family.
And when he would meet the men there, he had to give them this gorgeous dagger that Elfie Bey gave to him and say, "Here I am for whom you seek." And if they answered, praised the prophet who has preserved you. He was to follow them, and he would take them to his father. So he's like, okay, great. Thanks, Elfie Bay.
So he doesn't know who he's meeting.
He doesn't know who he's meeting, but he knows that he'll be taken to his father if he hands them the dagger. And
so his father's
says something.
essentially behind a speakeasy, is what you're saying.
Yes.
It's a really bizarre route, a stupid password, probably a cover charge at the door.
Yeah, and you have to wear a button-up shirt and closed-toed shoes if you're a man.
That's right.
Women can wear whatever they want.
Dresses with holes in them.
Dresses with holes, yeah. So Labakan was greatly surprised and interested by the story, but after hearing, he could not help but looking at Prince Omar with like envious eyes, because that's what all he wants.
We all want to find a cool invite to a speakeasy,
but he also wanted to be to discover that he was secretly royalty.
Yeah.
Like that's his heart desire. And
him and every 5-year-old.
Huh?
Him and every 5-year-old.
That's true.
Yeah.
So those thoughts haunted him all day, and he dreamt of them at night, about like wanting so much to have Omar's position. He woke very early the next morning, and as he saw Omar sleeping quietly with a happy smile on his face, a wish arose in his mind to take by force or cunning the things which unkind fate had denied him.
Wake up, it's stabbing time.
The dagger, which was to ask as a passport, was sticking in Omar's girdle.
About to stick right in Omar.
And Labakan gently drew it out and hesitated for a moment, wondering whether or not to plunge it into the heart of the sleeping prince.
Yeah, I'd hesitate.
Yeah. However, he shrank from the idea of murder. So he contented himself with placing the dagger in his own belt, and then saddling Omar's swift horse for himself, rode away and was many miles away before the prince woke up to realize his loss. So for 2 days, Labakan rode on.
That guy's a hard sleeper.
Oh, yeah.
Like getting a horse together and all that shit, that's loud.
Yeah.
All right.
Slipping a knife out of your waistband.
Well, that's quiet. I do that to you all the time.
That's true. So for 2 days, Labakan rode on steadily, fearing lest, after all, that Omar might reach him meeting place before him.
Wait, did he take the younger horse too, or is he still on
Yeah, he took the fast one. Yeah.
Got it.
At the end of the day, yeah, because he had to saddle the horse. But at the end of the second day, he saw a great pillar in the distance. It stood on a little hill in the middle of a plain. Labakan's heart began to beat fast at the sight, though he had some time to... I don't know what this part says. Though he had some time in which to think over the part he meant to play, his conscience made him rather uneasy. There are lines like that feel
I get it.
awkward. Yeah. However, the thought that he must certainly have been born to be a king supported him, and he bravely rode on. Bravely. So he finally he saw the pillar in the distance, and he finally reaches the pillar. At the foot of the pillar, there stood 6 men round a tall and stately person. His superb robe of cloth was made completely of gold.
What?
Yeah. It was a cloth of gold was girt around him by a white cashmere shawl, and
cashmere.
And his white, richly jeweled turban showed that he was a man of wealth and great rank. Labakan went straight for him, bending low, and handed him the dagger, saying, "Here I am, whom you seek." And he responded, "Praise be the prophet who has preserved you. Embrace me, my dear son Omar."
Oh.
The proud tailor was deeply moved by these words. With mingled shame and joy, sank into the old man's loving arms. Sweet loving arms.
So he's not completely sociopathic, because there is some guilt to what he's doing.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, sociopaths don't have any guilt.
All right. You've called me
You
out.
know.
I should know. But I have no guilt about it. So here we go. But his happiness was not long unclouded. As he raised his head, he saw a horseman who seemed trying to urge a tired or unwilling horse across the plain. Only too soon, Labakan recognized his own horse, Merva, and the real Prince Omar. Having once told a lie, he made up his mind to hold his deceit. At last, the horseman reached the foot of the hill, where he flung himself from the saddle and hurried up the pillar, and Omar cried, "Stop! Whoever you may be, do not let this disgraceful impostor take you in. My name is Omar, and let no one attempt to rob me of it."
Oh, well, that seems insane.
The turn of affairs threw the standers-by to great surprise. The old king in particular seemed much moved as he looked from one face to the other. At last Labakan spoke with a forced calmness. My most gracious lord and father, do not let yourself be deceived by this man. As far as I know, he is a half-crazy tailor's apprentice from Alexandria called Labakan, as far as I know, who really deserves more pity than anger. And these words infuriated the prince, foaming with rage. I like that description.
Yeah.
He tried to press towards Labakan, but the attendants threw themselves upon him and held him fast. But the king said, "Truly, my dear son, this poor fellow is quite mad. Let him be bound and placed on a dromedary."
What's a dromedary?
That's a one-hump camel. I also had to look that up. do not place him on a two-hump camel. That would be insane.
Yeah.
A dromedary, please. Perhaps we may be able to get some help for him. The prince's rage was over, and with tears he cried to the king, "My heart tells me that you are my father, and in my mother's name I entreat you to hear me." And the king's like, "Oh, heaven forbid. Bless his heart. He's talking nonsense again.
He's foaming.
He's foaming. How can this poor man have such notions in his head?" And with these words, the king took Labakan's arm and supported him down the hill, and they
skipped away.
They both mounted richly adorned horses and rode across the plain ahead of their followers. The Omar, on the other hand, was tied hand and foot and fastened to the dromedary with a guard riding on either side to make sure that he couldn't escape.
Oh, but he still gets to come with.
Oh yeah, they're gonna.
The drama's not over.
This would all be over if he just got murdered right there. But, they had to be nice. So the old king, his name was Sashed, and he was Sultan of the Washabites.
All right.
And
good group.
Yeah. For many years, he had no children, but at the length, the son that he had so long for wished for was born. So the soothsayers and the magicians who he consulted to tell the child's future all said, until he's 22 years old, he's in danger.
He's trash.
He's in danger. So
he's gonna have a bad attitude. Gonna get him out of here until he's 22. He gets shit together. You're just not gonna like him.
That's true. So to make all safe, the Sultan confided with Elfie Bey and sent him to go live with Elfie Bey.
Deal with it.
When they reached their own country, they were. It's important to note that the Sultan Sashed is so taken with Labakan, specifically because Labakan is holds himself with this affluent dignity.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So he's
Fake it till you make it.
So he would much prefer Labakan over the desperate looking Omar.
Yeah. No foam coming out of Labakan.
Yeah.
Foam free boy right here.
So they reach their village. There's a big celebration awaiting the prince's return.
Confetti poppers.
And they reach the palace, and the queen's there in the palace, and she's surrounded by her entire court. And it's getting dark. And I like this description. It's getting dark, and hundreds of colored hanging lamps were lit, turning night into day.
Very pretty.
The brightest hung around the throne on which the queen sat, which stood above 4 steps in a pure gold throne laid with amethysts. 4 golden
Very pretty
nobles in the kingdom held a canopy of crimson silk over the queen. In the state, she awaited her husband and son, and she too had not seen Omar since his birth. But she had had many dreams who had shown her what he would look like, so she felt she would know his face among 1,000.
Uh-oh.
So the doors fly open, and it's Prince Ali, they'll bring him in. And the king says, "Here, it is he for whom you have been longing for many years." And the queen just immediately says, "What, Sarah?"
Nah.
"That is not my son. That is not the face the prophet has shown me in my dreams." I spit at him.
I foam at him. He got the foaming from his mom.
And just as the king was about to reason her, the door was again violently thrown open. Prince Ali and Prince Omar rushes in.
I imagine his arms and legs are still tied together,
yes.
So he rolls in as a circle, like a sphere.
he followed by his keepers, who he had managed to get away from, and he flings himself down before the throne, panting out, "Here I die! Kill me at once, cruel father, for I cannot bear the shame any longer." And everyone sees the Omar again, and the queen says, "Hold! No, this and no other is the right one. This is the one whom my eyes have never yet seen, but whom my heart recognizes."
And then she holds up her phone, and it's one of those face morphing apps. She's like,
Look, this is clearly what our
this is
child
what our
would look
baby
like.
would look like.
And the king says, of course, yes, I trust and believe my wife because
Whoa.
just kidding.
Yeah, okay.
He says, no, it is I who must judge. This matter cannot be decided by some
Silly woman.
silly woman's dreams, but certain unmistakable signs. This one, pointing to Labakan, is my son because he brought me the dagger from Elfie Bay.
He knew the speakeasy stuff.
And Omar says, he stole it from me. He betrayed my unsuspicious confidence. Well, that's a phrase, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the king would not listen to his son's voice, for he had been accustomed to depend on his own judgment.
Yeah, they already have a good father-son dynamic here.
Yeah.
It's like we've known each other our whole lives.
He let Omar be dragged from the hall while he retired with Labakan to their own rooms, filled with anger for the queen, despite having several happy years of life together. So, like,
they didn't even have to raise their own child, man. They had a very stress-free marriage.
And this is probably also the one time that she's ever said anything opposite to him.
Oh, she'll learn.
Yeah. The queen, on her side of the palace, was plunged into grief. She felt certain that an imposter had won her husband's heart and had taken the place of her real son.
Mm.
So, while she was there wallowing in grief, who should talk to her but an enchanted wardrobe?
Excuse me? Excuse me?
It's not an enchanted wardrobe. It's one of her oldest and wisest ladies in waiting. But I feel like it's the enchanted wardrobe from Beauty and the Beast.
Beast,
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. Let me see what I have in my drawers.
Was she a Southern belle?
In my head, she was. I don't know if she was or not. She says, Did not the young man who brought the dagger call upon him who your majesty believes to be your son, Labakan, say that he was a crazy tailor? And I'm like, well, that's written crazily. Basically, she's like, didn't Labakan say that the one that Omar was a crazy tailor? That's really oddly specific to bring out.
Are we about to have a fashion off?
Oh, you're way ahead of this story.
Hell yeah.
She said, and then the queen's like, yes, what of it? And then she's like, might it not be that imposter called your real son by his own name? If this should be the case, I know a great way to find out the truth. And then she goes, in the queen's ears, and the queen likes what she hears. And then we do a circle edit to the next scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Circle wipe.
Yeah. So the queen was a very wise woman, so she pretended to think, you know what, I might have made a mistake. It might be Labakan that truly is my son. So the queen reconciles with the king, and the king feels ashamed for the rage that he showed to his wife the night before.
No, it's cool. I'm a dummy. You know me.
Oh, okay.
She's such a dumb woman.
It's just your stupid dreams.
Yeah. You know how I get with my talking and my thoughts.
Yeah.
I should keep it to myself.
You know what? This is actually a good thing. What can I do to make it right? What should I do?
Mommy want a new robe.
And she says to him that I want to have our two sons in question do a task that requires sharp wits and clever hands. I want to see who can make the best caftan. And the king says, no, that'll never do. Do you suppose my son would compete with that crazy tailor as to which can make the best clothes? Oh dear, no, that won't do at all. But the queen was like, you just promised that you would make this right in whatever way.
And I want to see a reality show in real life.
I want to see who will make the best caftan. And so they stick to that, and they invite, they tell both Omar and...
But that's clearly her doubting again. How does she play that off?
I
You're
don't know.
right. You're right. Anyway, let's test them.
That's kind of what
All
happens.
right.
So they do set it up like a reality show. 2 rooms are prepared with pieces of material, scissors, needles, and threads, and each young man is shut up in one of the rooms.
Yeah, but wouldn't Labakan know, like, oh, they're seeing if I'm an amazing tailor, I should phone this in?
Well, he should, but they kind of phrase it in that way of like, we want to see who's got the sharpest wits and the best hands. So they kind of they tease it that way.
Okay.
Yeah. And so on it takes them 3 days they give them 3 days to make these caftans. And on the 3rd day, they sent for 2 young men for their work. Labakan comes out first, spreads out his caftan before the eyes of the king. He says, "See, father, see, my honored mother. This is not if this is not a masterpiece of work, I'll bet the court tailor himself cannot do better." And, it's the most gorgeous caftan. The queen smiles and then turns to Omar, and he says, "What have you done, my son?" And he throws down the stuff and the scissors on the floor like a cranky little baby. And he says, "I've been taught how to manage a horse, to draw a sword, and to throw a lance some 60 paces, but I've never learnt to sew. Such a thing would have been thought beneath my station as the pupil of Elfie Bey, the ruler of Cairo. Of course." And then
Gotcha.
And then the queen says, "Yeah, gotcha. Ah, true son of your father. If I only might embrace you and call you son. Forgive me, my lord and husband," she added, turning to the king, "for trying to find out the truth in this way. Do you not see yourself now which is the prince and which is the tailor? Surely
Who's worthless?
surely this caftan is a fine one. But I should like to know what master taught this young man how to make clothes." The king sat down in deep thought, looking now at his wife and now at Labakan, who was doing his best to hide his annoyance at his own stupidity, because Labakan realizes at that moment, like, oh, I should have pretended to not know how to do this.
Right.
At last the king says, "Even this trial does not satisfy me,
What the fuck?
because it was my wife's idea. But happily, I know of a sure way to discover whether or not I've been deceived." So he orders his swiftest horse to be saddled, mounted, and he rode off into the forest for some little distance. "Here lives the fine, kindly fairy called Adolescene,
There it is, yeah.
a diddly dandy,
A diddly dandy.
who had often helped the kings of his ancestry when they needed good advice. And
So more guessing instead of just looking at facts. Cool, cool, cool.
yeah. In the middle of the forest was a wide open space surrounded by great trees, and it was supposed to be the fairy's favorite spot. And when the king reached this place, he stood in the middle of the open place, and he said, "If it is true that you have helped my ancestors in their time of need, do not despise their descendants who hates his wife. Please give me counsel, for that men have failed me." And he had hardly finished speaking when one of the cedar trees opened like a door, and a veiled figure dressed all in white steps out from it.
Gandalf.
"I know your errand, King Sashad." I don't know. That's me trying to be like Galadriel.
You are.
Okay, great. I am both terrible and beautiful. She says, "Here, take these 2 little boxes and let these 2 men who claim to be your son choose between them. I know that the real prince will make no mistake." And she hands them 2 little boxes made out of ivory, set with golden pearls.
This isn't a real test. The queen had a real test. This is a street thing where you're just like, which box has the ball under it?
One of the they were both inscribed in diamonds, and one said honor and glory, and on the other it says wealth and happiness. And the king's like, "Yep, this will be the test. This will do it." And he puts both of the boxes in front of his throne and orders the sons to come in one at a time. And so Labakan is let in.
And then Omar is still tied, bound hand to feet, and he rolls in like a wheel.
It's been too tight, so like both his feet and his hands have to be amputated at this point.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So Labakan walks in. He says, "What does my lord and father command?" And the king says, "My son, doubts have been thrown on your claim of that name. One of these boxes contains the proof of your birth. Choose for yourself. No doubt you'll choose right. And then he pointed to the ivory boxes, which were placed on little tables near the throne. Labakan rose and looked at the boxes, and he thought for some minute and said, "My honored father, what could be better than the happiness of being your son? And what nobler than the riches of your love? I choose the box with the words wealth and happiness."
That's a
Um,
fine answer.
he says, "We shall see presently you have chosen the right one. Take a seat there beside the Pasha of Medina." It's like, I don't know why the Pasha of Medina gets named. The Pasha of Medina tips his hat, and it's
Yeah.
like, it's Ron Howard.
Why?
It's a little nod from the director right then.
Uh-huh.
Omar is next let in, and he looks at the two boxes and he says, "The last few days have shown me how uncertain unhappiness is and how easily riches can vanish away. Should I lose a crown by it, I make the choice of honor and glory." So he laid his hand on the box as he spoke, and the king signed him to wait. Then he ordered Labakan to come to the other table and lay his hand on the box he had chosen. And he
His hand chopped off.
he says, "Open the boxes, and may Ra show us the truth."
Oh, first time we've talked about a god.
Yeah.
Not a fairy.
The boxes were opened, and with greatest ease, it was the one with that Omar had chosen. They find inside a little gold crown and a little scepter on a little velvet cushion.
Are you kidding?
No.
That's hilarious.
It's like a little Etsy find.
Yeah.
Or maybe from eBay.
Oh.
In Labakan's box was found a large needle with some thread.
Ooh, shit.
The king told the two young men to bring them their boxes, and they did so. He took the crown in his hand, and as he held it, it grew bigger and bigger until it was as large as a real crown. He placed it on the head of his son Omar, kissed him on the forehead, and placed the scepter in his right hand.
Well, we're off to a rough start, though.
And then turning to Labakan, he said, "You have not deserved any mercy, but I cannot be harsh on this day. I give you your life, but I advise you to leave this country as fast as you fucking can."
On your old ass horse.
Uh-huh. Full of shame, Labakan flung himself before Omar and said, "Can you forgive me, Prince?" And Omar says, "Go in peace." So they have a great big celebration. He says, "Oh, my one true son." And the queen is like, "Yay, you finally believe that what I've been saying."
Wow, what news?
And everyone in the castle shouts, "Long live Prince Omar." In the midst of all the noise and rejoicing, Labakan slips off with the little box under his arm. He went to the stables, he saddled his old horse Merva, and rode out of the gates towards Alexandria. Nothing with the ivory box and the diamond motto was to show him that the last few weeks had not been a dream. When he reached his master's shop, the master comes forward and does his usual, "What's your pleasure?" But as soon as he sees Labakan, he's like, "Workmen?" And the workmen who work at a shop all of a sudden just attack Labakan with blows and angry words, and just like,
Because he escaped?
yeah, because he left and he made off with the robe that he
Oh,
was
right,
supposed
right.
to
Fancy
tailor.
time, yes.
Yeah. The master then scolded him about the stolen robe, but in vain. Labakan told him, he was like, "Hey, I've come to pay for it. I'll give you 3 times what it was worth." But they just kept beating him, and he left the workshop more dead than alive, is how they describe
wow.
it. So a zombie now.
Okay.
He could do nothing but remount his horse and ride to an inn. There he found a quiet place in which to rest his bruised and battered bones.
No, I don't know what he was thinking even going back there, honestly. He stole.
Yeah, I think he was just thinking he would get his old life back. The next so he fell asleep at the inn, determined to try to give up. "I'm gonna give up being great, but I'll just lead the life of an honest workman." Lesson learned.
Yeah.
But the next morning he set up work to fulfill his resolutions. He sold his little box, the one inlaid with diamonds and pearls, to a jeweler for a good price. He's bought a house and opened up a workshop. He had then hung up a sign.
He's learned nothing.
What do you mean?
I mean, That's ridiculous. That box was worth so much.
It was, yeah. Then he hung up a sign with Labakan Tailor over his door and sat down to mend old torn clothes with the very needle which had been given in the ivory box. And while he was called away, when he went back to his work, he found that a wonderful thing had happened. The needle was sewing all by itself and making the neatest little stitches, such as Labakan had never been able to make even at his best. So the smallest gift of the kind fairy was of great value, and had yet another advantage, for the thread also never came to an end.
What the hell?
So Labakan got plenty of customers. He used to cut out clothes, make the first stitch with the magic needle, and then leave it to do the rest. Before long, the entire town went to him, for his work was both so good and so cheap, because he didn't have to charge that much for labor because he wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
The only puzzle was how he could do so much working alone, and also why he worked behind closed doors. And so the promise of the ivory box of wealth and happiness came true for him.
Oh.
When he heard of all the brave things that Prince Omar was doing with all of his honor and glory, the Labakan thought to himself, you know what? This is probably a better life for me, because honor and glory are apt to be very dangerous things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. So he really didn't have many consequences.
No,
Things really worked out.
I feel like when I finished reading this story, I felt like this
Taking on a fake persona and lying to people.
I felt like doing that immediately. I kind of felt like it's the most like fairy tale of
Yeah.
everything that we read. Like everything kind of got
Well, literally
wrapped up.
fairies in it. Yeah.
Yeah, everything got wrapped up very neatly in it.
Uh-huh.
There wasn't any dire consequences to anything that happened.
He was
like,
just told, go away.
like
he got a beating,
Mhm.
For stealing.
Yeah.
But then still not like murdered.
But yeah, like a cartoon beating though. It wasn't like he ended up with consequences that affect him his entire life.
Yeah, he doesn't have a deranged jaw.
Yeah. That's a deep cut for anyone listening, because well, it's not even a deep cut because no one listening will know what you're talking about. A friend of ours has a deranged jaw. I'll just leave it at that. I guess it's just going to raise more questions.
That's the way I like
It's a
it.
diagnosis she got. Her jaw is deranged. Anyway, I feel like as much as I enjoyed reading the story, it did feel like something that was amplified so much by Andrew Lang and his upbringing.
Yeah. Of being like, oh, I don't like this ending. It could have been another thing where maybe pieces of the ending are missing too or something. And he's like, I'll make this satisfying.
Yeah. Another thing that he also collected, do you remember the piece that I shared with you that was on the torn parchment? And so we don't know whatever happened to the doomed prince, who was like set to be killed by either a dog or
A crocodile. Yeah.
He collected that one.
He didn't finish it. Huh?
And no, he did finish it. Yeah. So I'm wondering if that should be a separate episode, or if I should just tell you right now how
Just
he
tell us
finished
now, you clown.
it. It was the dog dies.
No.
And
Why?
And this
Was it the way I thought it would be? Protecting?
No.
Or you thought that? One of us thought that. No?
It was the dog like knocked both him, like the dog and him both end up in the river, and then the wife saves her husband, and like it's like the strength of her love was more powerful than fate or something.
Oh, why does the dog have to die?
Because
There's no room in this marriage for you and a dog.
yeah. Uh-huh.
That sucks. Okay, but what about the crocodile? So the wife just kills everything.
I didn't really. So maybe this should be another episode, because I feel like I should redo that one as Andrew Lang presents it, because all I did was skip to the end and be like, oh my god, he finished it. Why did he like?
Okay.
That
Andrew
feels-
Lang presents.
Andrew
Yeah,
Lang, yeah.
a special night.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a diddly dandy Andrew Lang. I did like that tale. Even though I feel like what's his name?
Labakan?
Yeah. I feel like there should have been more consequences for him, or at least the realization of I've been a naughty boy.
Yeah.
And really the most untied ending here is Manuva.
Merva? The minutia of Merva?
Yeah, is she okay?
She, after riding all the way to a different kingdom and back, the horse is dead.
Paul,
Andrew Lang wrote it.
Know your audience.
He will kill all animals.
He did not kill them.
Okay.
Did he kill the horse for real?
No, there was no ending for her.
How dare you?
Yeah, she was a vehicle for transportation that had a name.
So she's just chilling in the parking lot.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
picking up her residuals.
Yeah, the fairies definitely means Scottish, and I wonder what was in the original text. Like,
I know I'm gonna have to look it up, but I struggled to find the original text of this.
well, yeah, when you think you've punched up something better, you probably
Punch it down
Yeah.
out of existence.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, good job.
Thanks.
Hey, get on over here to Fairy Hut. Come and get a stupid little box.
Yeah, if you got a lot of problems happening with your family, the Fairy Hut will help solve your problem.
Hot and ready.
Hot and ready, cooked to order.
Get your tiny little box in 30 minutes or your next magical spell's on us.
Hey, is your wife trying to solve a problem with like presenting facts and stuff?
What a stupid bitch. Get this box.
Get this box. Come over to Fairy Hut because we'll give you foxes. Foxes and boxes.
We got boxes and boxes if that's what you want.
We'll give you boxes that say every saying on top of it that you ever wanted.
Live, laugh, love box. We got them.
YOLO box. Got it.
Wine o'clock. Yep.
This hair belongs to me.
Yep. That's one of our more popular boxes, actually.
Because sometimes.
Yep. Explain.
Because sometimes you got to declare that this hair belongs to me.
It belongs to me. And what's inside that box? A little brush and some hair.
Well, that's what you'd think was inside there, but no, it's a little tiny bunny.
And this little hair belongs to me. Stupid. So come to the box hut. We got the boxes hot and ready.
Doodle doo 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 doo. That was stupid.
Yep.
Okay. Hey, thanks for joining us for this episode of Myth Understood. If you like what you hear, please.
So do we.
So do we. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. You can follow us on social media at _Myth Understood. You can follow Sarah at the Sarah Oliver. You can follow me at the Paul Bianchi. And you can follow our Dragon Wagon radio at It's Dragon Wagon. Please check out our merch at the store. It's I was just wearing my Myth Understood shirt just the other day, the blue one that says Myth Understood on it that was drawn by Nymphemos.
Oh, it's so good.
And that is available at www.mythunderstoodpodcast.com. And
Jump on Discord. We were just talking about Chipotle.
We were just talking about Chipotle. Well, you were talking about Chipotle. I wasn't there for that.
But I talked about how you didn't like it either.
Oh, that's true. I'm not a fan.
Well, it hurts us.
Yeah, it hurts my stomach.
So if you have opinion on Chipotle or Myth Understood, jump on our Discord.
Fair enough. All right. Night.
Night.
Hello, workers of the world. This guy's James Mastriani.
And that guy is Matt Newell.
That's right. We cannot say our own names. We're writers, comedians, performers, but more importantly, we're the hosts of Good Work.
Good Work is a comedic roundtable about the world of working in which we discuss labor politics, union news. We'll have fantastic guests.
It's kind of like whatever your favorite podcast is, but with labor.
Pretty good.
Right.
So join us and producer Jake on Good Work, available at goodworkpod.com or wherever you're listening to this podcast right now.
It's Dragon Wagon.